us what kind of information actually our emotions tell us?
Yeah, so the way I see it, or I in my own life, and try to explain it to clients, like it's an adaptive reaction. We always, our system or our organism always reacts with an emotion or an emotional reaction to whatever is happening. They're very often outside of our conscious. We're not always aware of them, but they are sort of always there, because many things happen outside of me, many things happen inside of me. I have a thought or a memory, and it brings emotions. And so this emotion is a sort of, it's coloring the experience. It's telling me very individually, idiosyncratic. For me, for you, it will be different. And that's why it's so beautiful. My emotion system will give me its take on it.
Mhm.
Not yet maybe in words, but we can have this, it's a bodily resonance. Every emotion resonates in the body, so you can feel it. If I'm angry, there's a completely different body sense than when I'm sad or when I'm angry. So the emotion is in the body and it means something. So we have to figure out what it tells us.
Hi, Juliette.
Hi, Ghazaleh. And thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I would like to introduce you shortly, okay? Juliette Becking is a clinical psychologist, a psychotherapist, and the founder of the Emotion Focused Therapy Institute in Netherlands. Juliette has been a person-centered experiential psychotherapist and trainer for decades, but you got totally caught up by EFT. So you knew this was the way you wanted to master, train, and spread EFT. After intense training and supervision by the EFT originators, you became an international EFT trainer yourself. Had the chance to have a few classes with you and learning from you. Juliette, we want to talk about why our emotions matter. And as you experience probably in your daily practice as well, is that many people feel just stuck and lost in their lives or at their workplace or in general relationships. And they feel somehow unable to make a decision or not knowing what they actually want and need. What I've been noticing in my practice is that the majority of people that feel stuck somehow struggle with being in touch with their emotions. And they have found various ways of avoiding their feelings.
Yeah.
Can you explain how emotional avoidance is connected to feeling lost and stuck?
Yes, I think that's a crucial question. So let me start by, how do we in EFT see emotion? Of course, we are emotion focused, and we think emotions are so important, and important in a way that they give us information. They give us like meaning and direction, and emotions are like an innate, immediate reaction to a situation. So I think we could see emotions as a sort of compass, as a dense package of information. So that sounds wonderful. And then we think, oh, we have this information and we just have to use it. Because emotion tells us what things mean for us. They tell us what we need. And if we know what to need, we know what we have to do. So that sounds sort of simple. And we do strongly believe that this is why emotions are so important. But of course, people come to us, and I think even if you're not going to therapy, you are absolutely familiar by being stuck and being puzzled and being confused or being overwhelmed by emotions, and that can be very painful and disruptive. So it's difficult. It's not that easy. It's not an easy compass to read. So we can get very much in trouble by emotions, and avoiding them, then ending up avoiding them because they are so painful or difficult or confusing, because they are too much, they are overwhelming, and it can feel like we will not survive or we will drown in them, or because it's like, it's like if in your childhood, in your history, you were like maybe an emotional, or every child is emotional, and you dislearned to listen, to your emotions. Let's say it was very difficult to be assertive or say, no, this is not what I want. If there's a very strong reaction as a child, you just stop being assertive. So you don't read your assertiveness or wanting to say no, or maybe it was not you were not able to, or it was not allowed, or maybe even like punished in several ways if you were very sad, because our parents are also emotional creatures and they have an history, and maybe they couldn't be in touch with their emotions. So maybe you learned not to listen to your emotions, or it was even a very averse reaction. So we, in a way, it's many people don't listen to their emotions because they do feel they are disruptive or annoying or painful. And
Yeah.
that's sad and that's bad because we do need them as our coaches or guidance. They tell us such important information.
Can you tell us what kind of information actually our emotions tell us?
Yeah, so the way I see it, or I in my own life and try to explain it to clients, like it's an adaptive reaction. We always, our system or our organism always reacts with an emotion or an emotional reaction to whatever is happening. They're very often outside of our conscious. We're not always aware of them, but they are sort of always there because many things happen outside of me, many things happen inside of me. I have a thought or a memory and it brings emotions. Um, and so this emotion is a sort of, it's coloring the experience. It's telling me very individually, idiosyncratic. For me, for you, it will be different. And that's why it's so beautiful. My emotion system will give me its take on it.
Mhm.
Not yet maybe in words, but we can have this, it's a bodily resonance. Every emotion resonates in the body, so you can feel it. If I'm angry, there's a completely different body sense than when I'm sad or when I'm angry. So the emotion is in the body and it means something. So we have to figure out what it tells us. So we have to be in a sort of dialogue. It's very often you don't even notice that you do it. If I'm very scared and it's very obvious something scary is happening, I'm scared and I run away, chuck, chuck, chuck. It goes very quickly. But the emotion tells us what the thing that's happening means to us. And if we can read it properly, like, oh, this means I don't want it. My whole emotional system is like setting me up to say no. And then there's this energy and the need is I have to protect myself. So the action tendency, I really have to say stop or don't. No, I don't want to go that way. I want to go that way. No, I don't want that. I want this. Or not now. So all this information comes from emotion. That's with the anger or assertiveness, but also if I'm sad, if I can be in touch with this sadness, my body gives me information too, like, oh, I wanna hide, or I want to connect to a loved one. I need some reassurance or soothing. So the emotion and the bodily action tendency, it's like telling us what to do.
Right. So there is a clear connection between emotions and our needs. Meaning,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yes. And so meaning that if I avoid my emotions and you did this like that,
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
also pack away my needs, right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
if I pack away my needs and my emotions, what are like, actually the real consequences that come up for me then in my life?
Hmm. Yeah.
An
Yeah,
example.
you could say, like, it's metaphorically, of course, if the emotion is your compass and it tells you, oh, this is happening now better go that way, or take a rest, or do this, or you should, it gives us information where we have to go. If we lose our compass, we're lost. And then we can start to think about it, and that's what we do. We rely more on our brains than our emotions, although the emotions are, of course, also in the brain. So people start to think things over, or ruminate, or start to worry, or start to think about or talk about, and it's rational, and it then maybe you have a very, very interesting way of thinking about it. But what fits me in this situation, and if you were in the same situation, it would be something different. well, when we figure it out only intellectually or rationally, we could maybe end up with the same solution. But I have to check, does it fit for me? What's my own sense of it? What's the inner wisdom of the body? We say it's the wisdom of the body. It's the wisdom of our system, tells us what our need is. So that's the compass. And maybe I go another way today and another way tomorrow, but it fits in the moment, in my life, my situation.
But
So
somehow
it's,
what you're saying is that worrying, overthinking is one
yeah,
of the causes of emotional avoidance. And then I get lost in the worrying and overthinking.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Also, we know through research, meanwhile, that general anxiety and depression are also consequences of emotional avoidance. Can you
Yes.
briefly explain to us the link between depression and emotional avoidance?
Yeah, well, I think, like, of course, it's a very complicated, we can talk about it for hours, but I try to put it simply. For me, it's like being depressed, being blocked, being empty, down, no sense of where to go. It's the end of a whole process. So I think let's go to the beginning of the process. There, I'm sure there is something happened over and over again, maybe, and maybe it started in the childhood already. And let's say I was not able to be assertive. It was very difficult for me as a child to show emotions, to say, no, I don't want this. Oh, so like being there, being seen, being assertive, having this powerful contact with this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And if I'm sad, I'm sad. So if it's like if it hasn't been possible to live from there, I
Mhm.
start to adjust. So maybe when I'm assertive or assertive anger, like this is who I am, I want to be who I am, this is what I want. I started to sort of block that,
Mhm.
and it starts to feel like I'm not acceptable the way I am. I'm not lovable. It's not okay to be the way I am. So I silence myself or I block myself. Or as soon as initially I start to feel, this is what I want, no, stop it. So there's a whole process of not being able to be in touch with your adaptive primary emotion that tells you what you need. And that starts to become an automatic process. So you learn it, start to survive that way.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm not acceptable, I'm not lovable the way I am, so I have to shut up. But it's automatic.
Mhm.
But being so much disconnected from who you are and what emotion tells you that you need, you start to be disconnected from self, from your emotions, from your living forward energy, from your energy. And that's so painful to have this deep feeling of there's something wrong with me, or maybe shame, sadness, loneliness, feeling nobody will ever love me. And that starts to become a sort of way of thinking, feeling about self. That's a deep, deep, painful feeling. And in fact, it's too painful to bear.
Right.
Then we stop feeling that. And I think the depression or being numb or being not in touch with whatever, I don't know what I feel, I don't know what I want, is in fact the top layer of this process. So in therapy, we want to go back. Like what's underneath? Because there is a lot of emotion. Although somebody thinks I don't feel anything, it's being disconnected for all that's, it's all there. But these deep, painful emotions of this shame, what we say shame of defectiveness, there's something deeply wrong with me. That's awful if you're convinced that that's true. Because nobody will love you. Everybody will abandon you.
Yeah.
But then you start, and then in the end, you can develop like this, being blocked and let's say depressed.
Absolutely. So that's why in EFT, in emotion focused therapy, we
Yes,
help people to be aware of their feelings, getting in touch with it, and tolerate and accept their emotions, right?
yes.
Before we come to the transformation phase. But can you explain to us how this actually works? I know it's complicated.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
How can people start getting in touch with their feelings?
So maybe, well, if you're completely disconnected, it's very difficult. I can say 1,000 times, so how do you feel? How do you feel? How does it make you feel? And you'd feel nothing. So it's really, you can really be disconnected or only in touch with this helplessness.
Mhm.
So we have, of course, a lot of steps, but first of all, we have this bond, the therapeutic relationship, and we have this deep sense and trust in, yeah, in the client, that the client or the other person or every person is like the expert on self, and we are the experts on the process. So
Mhm.
I'm always like open and curious, and with this trust of together we will find out step by step. And of course, I have knowledge of the process, and I can see maybe what's happening, and slowly, step by step, together we can start to sort of put the pieces of the puzzle together, but also with the emotional component of it. And I am emotion friendly. And if somebody's completely disconnected from emotions, they feel implicitly, or there's this assumption that emotions are so dangerous, they are overwhelming, or I'll drown, or I'll never stop crying, I'll disappear, I will fall into pieces. And I have this deep trust that that's not true. So going there alone is quite difficult if you're really disconnected or traumatized. So they need us as a guide, and step by step we will go there and name it, and find the right distance to be connected. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's
But can
try
you
to
give us
do.
an example of how can people start maybe being more aware of their feelings in their body? You said several times our emotions are in our body, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
I love what Sherry Geller teach me, and I tell my children who are adults, of course, and I say, it's like, and clients too. It helped me a lot. She this really sort of simple awareness and present steps, like um, pause and notice. Then she said, like, pause. Sometimes take a moment to pause and just sit, feel your body, and just notice what's inside. And maybe starting to think of, oh, they say there's a sort of compass, there's a knowledge inside of me. Oh, these emotions have something to tell me. So start to take them seriously. Although, if you're stuck in what we call a maladaptive emotion, we have to transform it and find the original emotion. So it's not all emotions that are so friendly, but it's a puzzle. But first of all, to start to be in touch with them,
Mhm.
and maybe try to see emotions as your guide, your best guide. They're yours. They are helpful. They're full of information.
Yeah,
And
somehow also curious, right?
being curious, that's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, and giving yourself time. So many of my clients get a bit frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
They struggle with actually feeling anything,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
put themselves under pressure, or also feel like they're failing in therapy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, what is the most important or valuable advice you can give someone in this journey and finding it hard to get in touch with their emotions, even when they pause and even if they're curious? What could you advise?
Oh, so many things. Yeah, well, I think, like you emphasized this, what we say, every emotion has a need. Emotion and needs, every emotion implicitly tells you what you need, and there's an action, a plan for action. And I sometimes, if I'm stuck in my emotions, and I have this, like, I know my own stuck places, and sometimes it takes a time, and then I feel, oh my God, I feel, oh, it's that again. And I just sit. I have to sort of force myself and take some time to pause and feel what I feel. So instead of avoiding, I'm going there. Like, as if you say, okay, let's sit. What's happening? What are you telling me? What do you want? But especially the need. So I know, like, okay, if I'm stuck, if it feels like bad, global distress kind of, and I don't know, and I want to run away or I want to distract myself, So this is what I do. I go there, I take time, and very friendly, I ask myself, so, okay, Juliette, so what in fact do you really need? That's maybe very scary to find out, or say, if it's like boundary setting, that's maybe difficult for me. Or if I'm sad, asking for somebody to help me, that's difficult. So I'm curious, and I turn around from avoiding to approaching, say, okay, you're not disappearing. So what's happening? And what do I need that I don't allow myself to yeah, to
Yeah.
to that helps me, but maybe that's very difficult.
Oh, it's very actually, I totally get that because, I learned that the most important question self-compassion asks is, what do I need?
Yeah, yeah,
You said turning friendly inward and
yeah,
what do I need? So
yes,
actually having this compassionate attitude of turning inward from a
yeah.
kindly turning inward and being curious about what do I actually need?
Yeah, yeah. And what helps me, and like I think this friendly is very important, like compassion, be curious too. Like I don't know what's happening, but I'm stuck. So something is happening. And for me, it helps to say, and what do you, as if I ask myself, so what do you need that you're almost not able to commit or say aloud? So
Yeah,
what do you need that you don't allow yourself to be needing? And that helps me because if I, that's why I'm stuck.
I love that piece
Yeah, yeah,
top of it that you're not allowing yourself of need,
yeah,
right? So not only what you need, but also what are you not allowing yourself?
yeah,
This
yeah, yeah,
is a way of
yeah,
actually tuning
yeah,
forward. And so I love the way you say accessing our emotions, right? Can also go through accessing our needs.
yes,
Sometimes it's easier to check in with yourself, pause, which is the contra program of what people actually do when they avoid emotion. They don't pause, they run. They're
yes, yes, yes. You want to get rid of it. You want
yeah,
to distract yourself. Yeah,
slowing down, tuning inward from a curious, kindly, friendly place, asking, what do I need and what am I not allowing myself to need?
yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Mhm.
on a deep level, we do know there is this deep, deep wisdom of the body where you can say, or it's all there. Like we say, the body keeps the score, and
Yeah.
and the Cook wrote a book about that. The
Mhm.
body knows so much because every emotion is also resonating in the body,
Mhm.
and so we have different ways to enter this dense package of information. We want to give it some space and be curious, as if you say to this dance package, okay, you're painful, but I'm very carefully approaching, and let's unpack.
Let's unpack. This is
Yeah,
beautiful, Juliet. So if I would summarize now, I would say slow down,
yes.
pause, tune inward, check inside your body, see if
Mm.
there's a felt sense of physical sensation coming up. And if not, but check in and see what do I need and what am I not allowing myself to need and unpack, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Juliet. If you could give the audience one last advice, what
Oh my God. Yeah, trust your what comes up is like trust the wisdom of your body, but it's more than that. Trust that your emotion system is adaptive, and maybe it's stuck, and maybe it's difficult to find the adaptive emotion that tells you where, but it's all there, and I do really deeply believe in this self-healing power and this transformative power of emotion. So don't stay too long in thinking it over. Try to find somebody who can help you to unpack and arrive at this wonderful level of adaptive emotions inside of you. It's a very rich instrument, let's say, this compass. Yeah.
go with the flow and trust the process, right?
Trust. It's all there. Yeah,
Oh,
it's all there.
thank you so much for taking the time to teaching us of
Yeah, thank you for having me.
in
It's
such a
wonderful the way you, yeah, you bring this to the world.
thank you, Juliet. Sending greetings to Eindhoven
Thank
and
you. Same in Berlin.
bye.
Bye bye.
As you heard Juliet saying, trust your body, go with the flow, and I see you at the next interview.